Hi friends, Allie here. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to crochet this checkered dish set. This matches my loopy coaster pattern that I released earlier this year, so if you want to check out that video, I'll put the link in the description box below. The checkered dish set includes 3 patterns, a cloth, towel, and hanging towel. They all use a variation of the puff stitch to create this really fun texture. They also all use alternating colors to create this checkered design, and you can use whatever and as many colors as you'd like. If you're planning on gifting or selling your cloths, then check out these wrap labels I designed. You can get the digital PDF and print them at home. They're perfect for packaging your items, they give them a nice professional look and tell the recipient what they are and how to care for them. I'll link to them down below. You can find the free written version of the checkered dish set pattern on my website, theturtletrunk.com, or grab the ad-free printable PDF from Etsy and Ravelry. I'll link to all the places down below. You can also find more information about this pattern there as well. Now, if you're ready to get started, let's grab our supplies and let's get making. For this pattern, you'll need medium 4-weight cotton yarn. I'll be using We Crochet and Knit Picks Dishy in the colors Swan, Conch, and Butterscotch. You'll also need a 5mm or H crochet hook, a yarn needle, scissors, and for the hanging towel, a button. We're going to start with the dishcloth and our color A yarn. Begin by chaining 22. We're going to start row 1 by working into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to work our puff stitch. Now this is a variation of a puff stitch, so it might look different than other puff stitches you may have worked. For this puff stitch, yarn over and insert your hook into the second chain from the hook. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and insert your hook back into the same chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook. You should have 2 loops on your hook now. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to repeat that in the next chain. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook back into the same chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. So we're going to repeat that one more time. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook back into the same chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook. On this third puff stitch, we are going to change colors on this final pull through. So with 2 loops still on our hook, we are going to drop our current color and pick up our color B yarn and do that final pull through with our color B yarn. And now we're going to keep repeating our puff stitches across and change colors every 3 stitches. We're also going to be working around our non-working yarn. So our color A yarn that we dropped, we're going to work around that so that we have it ready to go the next time we change color. So I'm just going to start my puff stitch and then make sure I have that color A yarn worked across, and I'm going to work around that and drag it through so that I have it ready to go when I need to change colors again. So here we have our next puff stitch. I'm just going to take the short tail end of the white there and pull it to tighten that up. And then I'm going to work another puff stitch in the next stitch, again making sure I'm working around that color A strand. And then we're just going to repeat working our puff stitches in each chain across, changing colors every 3 stitches. So there we have 5 total puff stitches. We're going to work one more with our color B yarn, and on the final pull through of the stitch we'll change colors. So here I'm going to drop my color B yarn, pick up my color A yarn, and do the final pull through with color A. And then I'm going to continue now with color A yarn, and remember to work around our color B non-working yarn so that it's ready to go the next time we change colors. So just continue this across for row 1, 1 puff stitch in each chain across, change colors every 3 stitches. I'm just coming up to the last stitch of the row, and we're going to change colors again on the final pull through of the last stitch. So we want to end our stitch with our color B yarn. So here's what our first row is looking like. So we're just going to keep repeating this row all the way up, and we're just going to be alternating our colors. So now our row is going to start with color B. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so we're going to work our first puff stitch into the top of the last stitch of the row. Make sure, especially when you're coming up to a new row, that you don't forget to drag up our non-working yarn. So now I'm going to work 3 puff stitches using our color B yarn. And then on that third puff stitch, we're going to change to our color A yarn. So just repeat that across for row 2. Work 3 puff stitches, change colors, and then repeat all the way across. I'm on the last stitch of row 2. So on the final pull through of this stitch, we're going to change colors to color A again. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Here's what we're looking like so far. Now for row 3, we're going to be starting with color A, but then we're just going to keep repeating what we've been doing, working 1 puff stitch in each stitch across, changing colors every 3 stitches. So we're just going to keep repeating this, alternating our colors, and I'm going to catch back up with you at the end of row 11. I'm just on the last stitch of row 11, and on the final pull through of this stitch, you just want to end with whatever color you want your border to be. So I'm going to end with my color A yarn because that's what I want for my border, but you can do either color. Whatever color you're not going to use, you can cut it off, leaving a long enough tail end to weave in. So this is what our dishcloth is looking like so far. If you didn't want to add a border, you don't have to. You can end right here, or you can add whatever border you want. I'm going to add a single crochet border, and we're going to work 2 rounds of single crochets. So I'm going to start by working down the left side of my dishcloth, and we're just going to work 2 single crochets in the edge of each row down the side of our cloth. So since these stitches are a little bit taller, we're going to work 2 single crochets in each row. So just work in the edge of the row, grabbing 2 loops on the side of the rows, and we're just going to work that all the way down the left side of our dishcloth. In each corner, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, all into the same corner stitch. And that's going to help us turn the corner and give our corners a nice point. So all into the same space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. That's going to help us turn the corner. Now we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch across the bottom. So working the rest of the way around our dishcloth, we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch across the bottom. Then when we reach the next corner, work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Then work 2 single crochets in each row up the side of the cloth. Then in the corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then work 1 single crochet in each stitch across the top. And then we'll work 1 more corner stitch in the last corner. So I'm just working that last corner stitch. Then you can join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet we worked of the border. Now we're going to work 1 more round for our border. If you wanted to leave it as is, you certainly can. But I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And then when we come to those corner stitches, we're going to work another single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the chain 2 spaces from the previous round. So work 1 single crochet into each stitch around, and then in the chain 2 spaces in the corners, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. I'm just coming up to the end of round 2. At the end, I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. And there we have our dishcloth. So we can now cut off our yarn, leaving a long enough tail end to weave in. So there we have our dishcloth. Weave in your ends, and then we'll move on to our dish towel. For our dish towel, I'm going to start with color A, and we're going to begin by chaining 28. So just in case people weren't making the dishcloth and started with the dish towel, I'm going to be explaining this pattern in detail again, but this is just a wider and taller version of the dishcloth. We are using the same stitches. We are just going to work more across and more rows. So if you already know the puff stitch and how we were making the checkers, then feel free to skip ahead in this video. But for our dish towel, we're going to chain 28. And then for row 1, we are going to work in the second chain from the hook and make our puff stitch. So to make our puff stitch, yarn over, insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the same chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. We're going to repeat that again. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook back into the same chain and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to repeat that 1 more time, and then on the final pull through of this stitch, we are going to change colors. So when you only have 2 loops left on your hook, we're going to drop our color A yarn, pick up our color B yarn, and do the final pull through with our color B yarn. So now we're going to work 3 puff stitches with our color B yarn, and then we want to remember to work around the non-working strand, so the strand of our color A yarn, so that when we change colors again, we have that strand ready to go right in front of us. So when yarn over and insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook back into that same chain and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. So we're going to repeat that 2 more times. Then on that third puff stitch, we're going to change back to color A, and then we're just going to repeat that all the way across for row 1. So work 3 puff stitches, change color, work another 3 puff stitches, change color, and repeat that all the way across. I'm on the last stitch of the row, and on the final pull through of the stitch, I'm going to change colors again. So I'm going to change to color B. So here's what our row 1 is looking like. Should have a total of 27 stitches. So finish that final pull through with color A, and then we'll chain 1 and turn. And then we're going to work the same thing. We are just alternating our colors. So now we're starting with color B, then we'll change to color A. The chain 1 at the beginning of the row does not count as a stitch, so we're going to work at the top of the last stitch from the previous row. Don't forget to bring up your non-working yarn and work around that so that we have it ready to go when we do our next color change. So we're going to work 3 puff stitches with color B. On the third one, we'll change to color A, and then we're just going to repeat that across, alternating our colors all the way across for row 1. On the last stitch of the row, on our final pull through, we're going to change back to color A. Now I'm actually going to use another color. So my color A yarn, I'm using 2 colors. I'm going to do 2 rows with the yellow yarn and then 2 rows with this pink yarn. I'm just going to call them both color A though, so if you're just using one color, that's fine. But if you wanted to add more colors in, you definitely can. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So I'm going to work the next 2 rows using my white and pink, and then 2 rows after that I'll do white and yellow, and so on. So I'm going to work my next 3 puff stitches using this pink yarn, and then I'm going to change to the white. Don't forget to drag your color B yarn up with you. I'm going to leave that yellow yarn just hanging there, and then when I have to switch back to it, I will just drag it up the side. So you don't need to work around it for the next 2 rows. You can just leave it on the side there. But we're just going to keep repeating, working 3 puff stitches in each stitch across, changing every 3 stitches. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. And we're going to repeat that until the end of row 32. Now you can make your dish towel longer or shorter. You can work as many rows as you want. If you are using just 2 colors, color A and B all the way up, then you'll want to end on an odd numbered row. If you're using 3 colors like me, we're going to end on an even numbered row. So I'm just coming up to the last stitch of my last row. And you're going to want to finish this stitch off with whatever color you want to use for the border. So I want to use this white yarn, my color B yarn, for my border. So I'm going to end with that. And then you can cut off the other yarns that you won't be using anymore, leaving a long enough tail end that you can weave it in. So I ended on an odd number row to get my colors to line up nicely, but you can end on whatever row you want to get your colors to line up however you want. So I'm going to cut off my 2 colors I'm not using anymore. And then we're going to move on to the border. So just like we did for the dishcloth, we're going to work the border for the towel the same. So we're going to do 2 rounds of single crochet. Again, feel free to do any kind of border that you would like. So we're going to start working down the left side of our towel. And since the puff stitches are a little bit taller of a stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets in each row down the side. So starting in that last row we worked, I'm going to work 2 single crochets in the edge of each row all the way down. When you reach the corner, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet all into the corner stitch, and that's going to help us turn the corner and give us a nice pointed corner. Then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across the bottom, and then we'll work another single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the corner, and then we're just going to continue around working 2 single crochets up the side, work our corner stitch, and then single crochet in each stitch across the top. When you reach the beginning, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that last corner. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet and chain 1. And now for round 2 of our border, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. And then in the chain 2 spaces of our corners, we're going to work another single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. In that last corner, work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet. And then you can cut off your yarn, leaving a long enough tail end to weave in. And then there we have our dish towel. So weave in your ends, and then we'll move on to our hanging towel. Now onto the hanging towel. This is going to start off the same way as the dishcloth. So starting with color A, we're going to chain 22. The hanging towel is going to be worked the exact same way as the cloth and the towel for the first few rows. So if you already made the other 2 and you know what to do, you can just continue on. But just in case you're starting with the hanging towel, I'll explain how to do the puff stitch again. So we're going to start in the second chain from the hook. So yarn over and insert your hook into the second chain from the hook. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and insert your hook into the same chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. So there we have 1 puff stitch. So we're going to repeat that in the next chain. So yarn over and insert your hook into the next chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook back into the same chain, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. And there we have a second puff stitch. So we're going to make 1 more into the next chain. And then before we do the final pull through of this 3rd stitch, we're going to change colors. So when you have 5 loops on your hook, pull through the first 4, then you're left with 2 loops on your hook, and this is where we're going to change colors. So grab your color B yarn and do that final pull through with color B. And now we're going to work 3 more puff stitches with our color B yarn. And as we're working these across, we're going to work around our non-working yarn. So our color A yarn, we're going to work around that strand so that we have it ready to go when we work our next color change. So we're going to work 3 puff stitches with color B, then change to color A and work 3 more puff stitches. And we're just going to continue that all the way across for row 1, alternating colors every 3 stitches. I'm just on the last stitch of the row, and I'm going to change colors on the final pull through of this stitch. So I'm going to change to color B so that I'm ready to start that color for the next row. So at the end of the row, you can chain 1 and turn. You should have a total of 21 stitches across. So now for row 2, we are going to work the same stitches across, just alternating the colors now. So we're going to start with color B, work 3 puff stitches, and then change to color A, work 3 puff stitches. The chain 1 at the beginning of the row does not count as a stitch, so work your first stitch of the row in the top of the last stitch from the previous row. Don't forget to bring up the non-working yarn and work around it so you have it ready to go when we make our next color change. So we're just going to keep repeating this row until we reach the end of row 17. And then each row we're going to alternate the colors. So if one row you start with color A, the next row you're going to start with color B, and so on. Keep alternating until we reach the end of row 17. At the end of row 17, you want to end with whatever color you want to use for the top of your hanging towel. So I'm going to keep this yellow color attached, but feel free to use whatever color you want. So do your final pull through, chain 1 and turn, and then we'll start the topper of our hanging towel. So you can also cut off your other yarn that you're not going to be using anymore. Just leave a long enough tail end that you can weave that in. And then we're on to row 18. For row 18, we are going to start with a single crochet 2 together. So we're going to start with a decrease. To work a single crochet 2 together, insert your hook into the first stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Then insert your hook into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Now we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across until only 2 stitches remain. In the last 2 stitches, work another single crochet 2 together. So insert your hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Then insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So now we've decreased by 2 stitches, so your stitch count should now be 19. Chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to repeat that last row until we have only a total of 5 stitches remaining. So single crochet 2 together, then single crochet in each stitch across until 2 stitches remain, single crochet 2 together, then chain 1 and turn, and repeat that until the end of row 25, and you should only have 5 stitches left. So I'm at the end of row 25, so I have 5 stitches across. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to make the long strap part of our hanging towel. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across, chain 1 and turn, and we're going to repeat that until the end of row 45. So for a total of 20 rows, just work 1 single crochet into each stitch across, chain 1 and turn. Feel free to make more rows or less rows depending on how long you want this strap to be. So I'm at the end of row 45. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. And for row 46, we're going to create the buttonhole. So we're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. Then chain 2. Skip the next stitch. And then single crochet in each of the last 2 stitches. So there you can see the little hole there, so that's where our button will go through. So now we'll chain 1 and turn. And for row 47, we're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. then work 1 single crochet into the chain 2 space, and then 1 single crochet in each of the last 2 stitches. Then we'll chain 1 and turn, and for the next 2 rows, so rows 48 and 49, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across. At the end of row 49, chain 1 and turn. And for row 50, we are going to single crochet 2 together. Then single crochet into the next stitch. Then single crochet 2 together in the last 2 stitches. Then chain 1 and turn. And for the last row, we are going to work a single crochet 3 together. So insert your hook in the first stitch and pull up a loop. Insert your hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Then insert your hook into the third stitch and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. So here's what our hanging towel is looking like so far. So now we're going to add a border. So just like our cloth and towel, we're going to work a single crochet border 2 times around. Again, feel free to put a different type of border on if you'd like. So to start our border, we're going to work down the left side of our towel, and I'm going to chain 1, and then we are going to work 1 single crochet into the edge of each row down, working down the strap and then the top part of our hanging towel. And then once we get to our puff stitches, we're going to work 2 single crochets into the edge of each puff stitch, since those stitches are a little bit taller. So starting on the strap of our hanging towel, work 1 single crochet in the edge of each row down. Same with the topper, and then 2 single crochets down the sides of the puff stitches. And then I'll meet up with you at the first corner. So I'm at the bottom corner here. So in this corner stitch, we are going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, all into the same space. That's going to help us turn the corner and give us a nice pointed corner, just like so. So now working across the bottom of the towel, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across the bottom. Then when we reach that other corner, we're going to work another single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then we're just going to repeat what we did on the left side of the towel on the other side. So work 2 single crochets in the edge of each puff stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the edge of each row on the topper and the strap. So I'm just coming up to the top of the towel, and this is what we're looking like so far. So I'm going to work a single crochet into that top stitch of the strap. And then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the very first single crochet that we worked for our border. And then chain 1, and we're going to work 1 more border round. So we're going to just work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. And then when we get to the bottom corners, we're going to single crochet, chain 2, single crochet again in the 2 bottom corners. At the end, you can join with a slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet. And then you can cut off your yarn, leaving a long enough tail end to weave in. So you can weave in all of your tail ends, and then we also need to add on our button. So grab your button and a 6-inch long strand of yarn. I'm going to be using the yellow yarn to match. And then you also want a yarn needle if your button has large enough holes to fit the yarn needle through. So I'll link below to these toggle buttons that I have. I really like them. I think they look really nice. They're easy to use with the button hole, and they're also easy to sew on since they have large enough holes that my yarn needle can go through. But you can use any type of button that you want as long as it can fit through the button hole. So I'm going to sew on my button centered and between rows 20 and 21. Feel free to add yours wherever you'd like. So I'm just going to go through the back of the towel, through one of the holes, and then through the front into the back of the other hole so that my tail ends are on the back of the towel. And then I'm going to secure that with a few knots, then weave those ends in on the back side. So just make sure you have it nice and centered and how you want it before you secure those down. And then there we have our hanging towel. So now you can fold the strap down and put the button through the loop so you can easily hang this up on your stove or anywhere else you'd like to use it in your kitchen or your bathroom. But there we have our hanging towel, and now we've completed the whole set. Thank you so much for following along. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget you can find this pattern and many more free crochet patterns on my website, theturtletrunk.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.